Indeed,
Viduhu,
they know.
they know.
Vishaya,
Great rishis,
great rishis,
such as Brigu,
such as Brigu, not,
Api,
also,
Deva,
Deva,
the demigods,
the demigods,
Noah, Siddhamukya,
Siddhamukya,
the chief leaders of Siddhaloka,
the chief leaders of Siddhaloka,
Asura,
the demons,
Manushya,
Manushya,
inhabitants of Purloka,
inhabitants of Bhuloka,
human beings,
Bhuta, where,
no, indeed,
Vidyadhara,
the lesser demigods,
lesser demigods,
known as Vidyadharas,
Charana,
the residents of the planets,
residents of a planet,
where people are by nature, great musicians, and singers,
Adaya,
and so on. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles. Nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas and Charanas. Purport: when challenged by the Vishnu-dutas to describe the principles of religion, the Yama-dutas said, Veda Pranihito Dharma, the religious principles are the principles enacted in the Vedic literature. They did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transcendental, but are meant to keep peace and order among materialistic persons and the material world. Real religious principles are Nishtara Gunya, about three modes of material nature or transcendental. The Yamadutas did not know these transcendental religious principles, and therefore when prevented from arresting Acharya, they were surprised. Materialistic persons who attached all their faith in the Vedic rituals are described in Bhagavad Gita 242, wherein Krishna says, Vedavada Partananya Astiti Vadina. The supposed followers of the Vedas say that there is nothing beyond Vedic ceremonies. Indeed, there is a group of men in India who are very fond of the Vedic rituals, not understanding the meaning of these rituals, which are intended to elevate one gradually to the transcendental platform of knowing Krishna. Veda Isha Sarvaya Hameva Vedya. Those who do not know this principle but who simply attach their faith to the Vedic rituals are called Vedavada. Herein it is stated that the real religious principle is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That principle is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Harityaja, Ma'amekam Sharanam Vraja. One should give up all other duties and surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the real religious principle everyone should follow. Even though one follows Vedic scriptures, one may not know this transcendental principle, for it is not known to everyone. To say nothing of human beings, even the demigods in the upper planetary systems are unaware of this. This transcendental religious principle must be understood from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, directly or from his special representative, as stated in the next verses. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is a verse which was often quoted by Srila Prabhupada. It's a famous verse. Dharma Sakshat Bhagavad Anita. Religious principles cannot be invented or concocted by human beings. But religion cannot be created in that sense, but religion is already there, and it is coming directly, Saksha means directly, from God Himself. So the laws of religion are the laws of God. And we can see it that in every civilized society of the world, the laws of the state are also ultimately to be traced back to religious laws. Just like here in this society, we're not allowed to murder anyone or steal from someone. That is also in the Ten Commandments in the Bible already. Thou shalt not kill. But they're killing every day. Just like in Germany, we have only one slaughterhouse there in one part of Germany where every day, as far as I heard, 90,000 pigs are being killed every day. And then they have all these eggs which they produce, and because they want to eat eggs, they want female chicken. And the male chicken which come out of the eggs, they are collected and then they are killed every day. Millions of them. They're being put in some machine, sometimes with poison gas also. So this is highly sinful. So, but still the laws of the state, like you should not kill, all these are ultimately based on religious laws, like the Ten Commandments, very basic religious laws. So ultimately they come from God. But when people do not know about God, they don't do it out of love of God. And they also don't know why they should follow even the laws of the state. And we can see that more and more people are inclined to break the laws of the state. Violence is increasing, even amongst younger people. And children even, they become more cruel to each other. Because they don't know, why should I do it? So the police has to come in by force them not to do it. But they don't understand why they should not do it. That is the problem. If you just force somebody to do it, you can only do it for some time. You cannot force everyone. You need unlimited number of police. And so this is not very practical. But if you educate the people in God consciousness, religious principles, then automatically they will follow it. They understand, oh, if I don't do it, God will be displeased. Of course, nowadays people have no idea of God. They speak about God, even in the churches, but they have no idea what they mean by God. Everyone has his own idea, speculation. And they believe often that because, like before Newton and others discovered these laws of physics, people thought, innocent people at least, they thought that God is here and whatever we do, it has some connection with God. If we do something bad, then God will be displeased, etc. And then when they discovered these laws of nature, before they thought everything is directly done by God. And when they discovered these physics laws, physical laws, Newton laws, so on, gravity and all this, they thought, alright, God exists, but actually he's not needed in this creation. He just created this universe like a clockwork, and then he left the universe to itself and went to sleep or whatever. So with this universe, with our life, he has nothing to do really. And if we pray and he would interfere, he would react, and there would be disturbance in the order, then he would have to change something, and then things would get out of order. So therefore he will not react to us, to our prayers, but everything is happening automatically. Therefore God became more and more something that is not very relevant for the day-to-day life, even people who claim to have some belief, Christian belief, whatever. And then at the end they say it's just something for the church in heaven, but in this daily life I don't need to have any relationship with God. Nor do they know anything about what they mean by God. There's so many ideas. They have no idea. They think in the end it's just some superstition like believing in Santa Claus or something. Because we can explain everything just by the laws of nature and by physics and so on. So, but actually they cannot. Just like I told yesterday in the story, I met a nuclear scientist, and he gave up his job because he said, what they know in physics is so limited. It didn't help him fulfill his wish to really understand everything in this world, the underlying laws So then, this man had never been to a temple, but somehow after he quit his job as a nuclear scientist, he became a salesperson and was driving a lot every day. And he kept searching, is there anything, some other sources outside of normal physics that we can explain things. So then he found the Srimad Bhagavatam, he told me. Right there in the parking lot where I was this morning, he told me he found the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's hearing it every day, 2-3 hours, as MP3 audio on his mobile phone. He showed me what he's driving every day, 2-3 hours, and he says, especially third canto is explaining everything about the underlying reasons for everything. So it's not that the concept of atoms is not there in the Vedas, or gravity, but it's not as simple and as primitive as nowadays physics wants to have it. And that's why in modern physics they cannot explain the contradictions they have. They can sometimes see things as a wave, sometimes as a particle, but both things are not in agreement with each other. So there's like two major theories they work with, and they are disagreeing with each other. So what guarantee they have that this is based on real understanding? Actually, there must be some mistake in it. Even those who are materialistic, I met some others who were into physics, they didn't want the book, but they also admitted to me that there are many things they not only don't know, but there are many contradictions also in their worldview. It's like there are four main forces in nature and physics. The law, the force of gravity, the electromagnetic force, and two forces that exist in the atom, which they have found. But they cannot give a common source for each one of these forces in nature, these main forces which they see in material nature. They cannot give an explanation that actually agrees with the other explanation. And they are still looking for this, what they call the unified field theory, but nobody has discovered it yet. So therefore their picture of the world is very incomplete. They are still in darkness. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam you find a complete explanation of everything, including the laws of physics, including the laws of gravity. But it may be very much disagreeing with their speculations. Just like the law of gravity, they have some theories where it can come from, but they have no explanation where actually is the origins of gravity is. So there is no final theory to explain gravity that is well known. Nor is there a final understanding of the two forces that work in the atom, because they haven't understood the atom. They are theories, just like there's this superstring theory that they've been working on for more than 30 years, hundreds of scientists worldwide, but nobody has proven it. It's just one theory that they say that maybe matter is existing in 11 or 16 dimensions, which is hard for us to imagine. By mathematical calculation, there's some vibration in the smallest particle, which they have never seen because they cannot break up the smallest particles, which they have discovered anymore. They don't have the energy available that would be needed for it. They don't also know what would happen if they would smash it. So they're totally in darkness there. So what they can see is, like Newton discovered, if we have an apple, then when it has a certain weight, it will just fall to the ground. Any child knows that even before Newton. And if we have something up that has a certain weight, it will just fall down. So that's what Newton discovered. And he found some method of measuring the speed, how it is related to the weight and the mass of the body, and how much. And so he discovered there's some force that is working on it, otherwise it wouldn't fall down. And therefore he called it Newton's law, as if he created this law. But this law was not created by Newton. It was already, it's not that the apples didn't fall down before Newton then. But he called it the Newton's law of gravity. So, but actually, they gave him so much credit for that, Newton, very much. They said he's like the embodiment of the age of enlightenment, scientific age, before we were just believing. but they are covering the fact over they're still believing. And also they take so much credit, but they don't give credit to the one who actually made the law. If there's a law, then somebody must have made the law or something. That they do not know. Who is the lawmaker? So why they do not give credit to Krishna? They take so much credit, they call it the Newton's law, or if they find a star or planet, they call it, they give it the name of some scientist who discovered it, and so on. But why they don't give credit to the one who made the law, and who made the planets, and who made the stars? That they will even deny that anyone made it. Although it's a fact that there's so much intelligence in all these things. There's so much regularity, there's no chaos. Although by physical laws, matter has the tendency to get into a chaotic condition. But it is held together by so many things they cannot explain. Gravity, the forces working in the atom. Where it comes from, we say it comes from Paramatma. Then they would say, no, it's not possible. But actually you can see everywhere that laws are made by a person. When there's no person in charge of a government, there's just anarchy and chaos. And if you have a clockwork that works very precisely, you understand immediately some big brain has made that clock. Just like I was once trading watches a little bit in the past with some devotees. It was quite a good business. We were especially the original Swiss watches. So the most expensive watches were made by this company called Patek Philippe in Switzerland. And one watch was something like 100,000 euros each. And it's just a mechanic device without any battery. They are the most expensive watches. And they make them so fine that just to make this one watch, it will go for 100 years until the correct time without any battery. And it's so flat also and so fine and such a masterpiece. There's a whole team of the best watchmakers in the world make these watches for Patek Philippe, you know. And people pay any price. There's one guy, he paid for one watch by Patek Philippe $2 million. And you can see the whole movements of stars in the sky, the lunar days and everything on that watch. So to design such a watch takes about 5 to 7 years for a whole team of watchmakers. So, but nobody would be so stupid to think the parts were just there and then you put them into this watch case and then you just shake it and one day the watch will just work. You just shake it for 1 million years to 2 million years and all of a sudden it would be a working watch. It would be very childish, you know. So these are basic things. All the devotees all know about it, but just to summarize it, because it's fitting here, I was telling you these findings, that actually in the scientific world there's a lot of darkness, and especially foolish is the ideas that all these parts come together just by chance. So there is this very famous, also cellular, I think, biologist called what was his name? He wrote a book, Darwin's Black Box. I think you have read it, studied, you must know. Well, do you remember the name of your? Michael?
BD.
BD?
Yeah.
Like the BD they smoke in India?
No, H.
H. Oh.
BD,
Oh, okay. So he wrote a wonderful book. He is very elevated scholar, very knowledgeable about the cells in the body. Normally we think the cells are very primitive, some living being is just a shell or something. But actually it's known among cellular biologists that one single cell is more complex than a whole big city nowadays. There's so many different parts and they have their own individual functions in it. And they all only make sense if they exist together with the other parts. Just like in an engine, all the different parts only make sense if somebody already has an idea of the whole engine, what the purpose will be. They don't develop individually by its own, by chance. And then you just put them together and you have an engine, you know. So the fact that it has a purpose and it has so many different parts means it is somebody who has intelligence and designed it. So nobody would think that engine which works and you put gasoline in and you put it on your boat and you can drive in Copenhagen Harbor or something with your boat, that this was just falling from the sky or was just by chance the different parts came together and now you have a motorboat there. You know. But the cells, each cell in the body is more complex than a motorboat engine. And he proved, he even showed this. What I liked most about the book was the graphics, the pictures he showed. They are amazing. They are really good for a slideshow or something. Of course, you don't have slideshows now, they have a Beamer or something. So it's easier now. So, you know, there's amazing pictures in there. And some pictures show that there are parts in there, like these very primitive cellular living beings that look just like engines. They have a propeller by which they move, and a little entities like simple, the most primitive bacteria, which have only 1 or 2 cells or whatever. And then they have a part that's called a flagellum or something, and that moves them. It's like a propeller. It looks like a propeller, it moves like a propeller, and even have something like a wheel, which you have in watches, often these wheels with teeth in them. And they only work when there was other such wheels, and they have such parts even in them. So it looks really like from the construction board of some engineer. I have seen, because I had one small business company once, where I was selling products for, technical products for environmental use, you know, that protect the environment. Water filters and filters for the gasoline and so on, for the car. I was selling them for some time. And I had the rights for one thing, and it was a simple device, but even that simple device I had to go to a construction company, construction engineer, because the company which produced it went bankrupt, so I had all the rights for this, but I didn't know how to construct it. And I wanted to sell the rights for manufacturing to another company, but in order to do it, they wanted construction graphics, you know, how to produce a simple device. And I had to go to an engineer office and pay him a few thousand marks. And then he was making the whole construction design with measurements and everything, professional work, otherwise they wouldn't accept it. So, and that's just much more primitive than such a living cell of the body. And this living cell is just there, it's just there, and nobody knows where it came from. They have their theory, speculation, but they cannot prove where it came from. So all that, of course, can be read very nicely also. A lot of these points in the book by Lalita Prabhu. And also in this book, Darwin's Black Box, very nice book. So it seems so everything seems to confirm the Vedic version. That is not just come by chance. And so actually, neither what we see here, the living bodies, they are invented by some scientists or created by some human being, and ultimately not even by the demigods. But the demigods take the intelligence from Krishna, and he enables them to do it. And regarding the laws of religion, how we should act in this world, and what is the purpose of our being here, and where we come from, where we are going, that can also not be completely understood here, Prabhupada says, even by the Vedas. But it is coming from the transcendental, from the spiritual realm, which is another type of dimension. And we get a lot of information of this dimension, the higher dimension, from the Vedic literature. And we cannot deny there is a higher dimension because life is there everywhere, and life is this higher dimension. But usually the human being is so entrapped in this material body that he cannot understand his own position as a spiritual living being unless he gets knowledge from an enlightened, liberated living being that is always on that liberated platform, a spiritual platform. Then they can understand. And all the liberated souls proclaim that they didn't create the laws of religion. You But all the different main religions are based ultimately on the same laws, that are eternal laws of God, in this world and also in the spiritual world. So therefore, the real religious principle should be to surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna, and that is the highest spiritual principle, because it is our eternal nature and spirit soul. And everything here, this material creation, is also simply meant for the glorification of God. In fact, both the spiritual and material worlds, and the spiritual world is direct and the material world is indirect, both are meant for the glorification of the absolute truths of God, Krishna himself, the Creator. Just like a Patek Philippe watch will be the glory of the one who created that watch. So when we look at the flower is so much more wonderful than anything materialistic scientist can produce, or any painter can produce. Nobody can produce even one flower. The flower is so beautiful. Yesterday I went to the garden and I saw all these beautiful vegetables and flowers in the garden. And we were just standing there, just marveling how wonderful it is, and it just comes by its own, and no scientist had a hand in it. And nobody was supplying the seeds, only God. Aham bija pradapija. Lord God is the seed-giving Father. So therefore one, I forgot his name, one famous poet and a writer, author in Germany wrote, maybe it was Hermann Hesse, he wrote that in each flower you find so much more truth in all the books of all these so-called scholars and scientists. Who can produce a real flower? Nobody. That is done by God. You can make a painting of the flower, but it will never be like the real flower. You can make a plastic flower, maybe, but it will not be like the real flower. You can only make a flower from another existing flower. You can only make a vegetable from another already existing plant, which had already been there. So the original seed, the original manufacturer, that is God. Nor can you produce any fruit in the factory. They would like to, but they cannot. And so the fruit is actually the nicest sweet. You look at a fruit and it's full of juice, and each fruit has its own flavor. They are not just sweet, but each one has such a distinct taste also. And they are covered in a peel or something, a very nice color, yellow, orange, red, so many nice colors. And they have a nice smell also. And the shell is there to package them so that it is not getting dirty and spoiled. At the same time, you can easily open it with your hands. Just look at it, how perfect it is made. Who can make such a sweet? The sweet you buy, they just ruin your teeth, you know. And they are made from some leftover things, you know, cheap, chemically manipulated sugar or whatever. And it's very unhealthy. But not only this is such a nice sweet, but it's totally healthy. It has a whole bunch of vitamins in there. They try to manufacture healthy sweets and healthy this, but usually it's not healthy, it's just propaganda. But if you just eat fruits, mainly fruit, and a nice ripe fruit, which comes just at the right time for the human being to pick up when it falls from the tree. So who would be so idiotic and nonsensical that he cannot recognize that this is coming from God, from supreme intelligence? You must be blind and dumb. Therefore first you have to see. Whereas as Prabhupada said, you're blind, but I can see. First you have to learn how to see. So if you look even at material nature, it's so